Right, this is going to be my findings for Rebecca Ortiz in her OPEX body move and work assessment. Starting with her body, her weight is going to be 132. Her current lean body mass is 109.1. Her current body fat percentage is 17.6. Her basal metabolic rate is 1,440. According to her muscle fat analysis, once again, her weight's going to be 132.6. It's going to put her in about the 105th percentile according to her age and her gender. So she's going to be slightly heavier than most females around her age. Her skeletal muscle mass is going to be 60.8. It's going to put her in the 115th percentile. Again, putting her above average due to her experience in bikini and competitive bodybuilding. Her body fat mass is going to be 23.5, putting her well under where most females are her age. According to her obesity analysis, again, her body fat percentage is going to be 17.6. With this, what we would look at doing is we want to decrease her body fat while increasing her skeletal muscle mass. A lot of that's going to do to her own personal goals of trying to put on a little bit more size so she can be a little bit more competitive within the bikini realm. She does have a type B body shape according to her muscle fat analysis, so it's going to put her in the athletic body type position. She's comprised again of mainly skeletal muscle mass with minimum body fat mass. We would like to bring down that body fat percentage, especially before stepping on stage. We'd like her to be about that 10% range. For now, while she's working out and while she's training to put on a little bit more size, we wouldn't mind still decreasing that to about 15%, and then really focus on just increasing the skeletal muscle mass. Moving on to her OPEX move, starting with her scratch test on the left side. With the left arm overhead, she had to kind of tilt her head in order to maintain and get into a position. She also had a slight rib flare when she was overhead. Scratch test on the right side, again being the upper arm. She had pain with internal rotation. Actually, with the scratch test on the right side, it was on her lower arm. She had pain with internal rotation. And then with the overhead position, she had slight rib flares when she was getting into the position. Once she got into the position, she could kind of situationally aware. Then she could focus on pulling the ribs down. But in order to get in that position without being aware of what was going on, she kind of had to move her head to the side and then slightly forward in order to get back there. With the pain on the right side, we'll continue to monitor, ensure that movements that are prescribed are not causing any more pain. If pain pursues, we will refer out and get some good medical insight to see what's currently going on with that. Other than that, to kind of work on her scratch test and her overhead mobility, we're going to focus on single arm pressing exercises, single arm pulling exercises, and I'll include some single arm carries as well, primarily within her warm-ups and her cool downs. Moving on to her squat, she's going to be a pass on her squat. No real discrepancies there. I think the first squat, she kind of shifted just a little forward. After that though, every squat was on point. Depth looked good, no pain, no discomfort in the movement. Her lunge on the right side, she's going to pass on that side. No real big issues in her lunge patterns. Lunge on the left side, same thing. Again, she's had no real discrepancies or issues maintaining and achieving the lunge. In her toe touch, she's going to be a pass. Good flexion and extension of the spine. Spinal integrity looked great. Hamstring length looked great as well. On her active straight leg raise on the right side, she had a very slight knee bend, but it wasn't prevalent inside of the toe touch as far as a hamstring issue. So what I'm going to look into a little bit more will be what's going on with the calves when the ankle is currently in a dorsiflex position. I believe that the calves might be a little tight and they might be pulling on the hamstrings just a little bit, causing that slight knee bend in the active straight leg raise. Other than that, on the right side, no real big issues. Active straight leg raise on the left side, we had the same finding as the right, so just a very slight knee bend. Again, I'll do further assessments. I'll also monitor our exercises to make sure that we have good hamstring length. And I'll also take a little bit deeper of a look into what's currently going on inside of the calves and the ankle with dorsiflexion. The reverse plank, she's going to be a pass on this one. Her biggest thing on this one is going to be just shoulder stability. She started shaking relatively early. Shoulders caused her a little bit of discomfort. Other than that, she had great hip extension. She was able to maintain a nice rigid torso and midline position. So she looks phenomenal on that one. To kind of work on that reverse plank, what I do plan to add in there is going to be just some shoulder stability exercises. Again, we'll go through some single arm pressing, some bilateral pressing. I'm also going to include some bilateral pulling and some unilateral pulling as well. Her plank position, she was able to obtain this with no real big issues. She's going to be a full pass on that one. Great midline position. Hips look good, in line with the shoulders. Active protraction throughout the shoulders. Solid. On her side plank, starting on the non-dominant side, she was slightly under the 90-second mark. She was at a 107. Hips just started to come down, and again, just a little bit of issues with the shoulders there. On her side plank, on her non-dominant side, she's also going to be a fail again. She's slightly shallow of that 90-second mark. She was able to achieve 1 minute and 5 seconds. For the side plank, I plan to add some non-rotational exercises, some rotational exercises, and then some isometric exercises. We'll utilize movements like planks, side plank variations as far as side plank dips. We'll also do some side plank rotations. I'll add in things like the pull-off press. We'll also add in exercises like kettlebell side bends, as well as Russian twists, just to work on the entire core, while really focusing on the transverse abdominis and the obliques and QL here. Moving on to her OPEX work, her 10-minute assault bike. Her max RPMs were going to be 60 RPMs. Her average RPMs are 50 RPMs. Her total calories are going to be 76 calories. Her adjusted score is going to be 201. With that, it's going to put her well under the 5 percentile mark. We do find her conditioning to be important. We don't really find the intensity to be too important, just for the sport in which she's competing in. We do have her programmed and prescribed 45 minutes of cardio 5 days a week, but it's all going to be at a slow, steady state. So I don't find the need to increase the intensity on there to increase her 10-minute assault bike time, but we will focus a lot on her conditioning and her aerobic capacity by doing slow, steady state for long periods of time. Again, they will be 45 minutes of cardio, primarily probably on the elliptical machine, just because that's something that she's comfortable doing. She likes the intensity that she can get from it, and then it's also going to be low impact on the joints, which are going to allow us to maximize her time on the machine. No real big FME resistance testing here. We will look into that later on from cycle to cycle. I do plan to test out at least her bending and her squat patterns, as well as one of her pushing exercises. As far as her FME energy systems, again, not a big primary concern of mine, just because the sport in which she's competing in. So we will hit the gain system quite a bit. That'll be our primary energy system, which we're going to work within. And then we're also going to hit on her aerobic system just to help burn the extra fat and help out with our lean muscle mass. And that's going to conclude my findings for Rebecca Ortiz.